One of the doctors that came here painted that of me.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
The breastfeeding guy, the neonatologist,
What?
Dr. Afif. He came with that. He's an artist as well as being a doctor, and he came with that.
Another one of these underachievers. And he's probably like an Olympic gold medal as well. Just for shits and gigs, nothing else to be doing. How do you meet these people and you're like, I feel so fucking inadequate. With my 3 degrees and 4 careers, I feel inadequate. Thanks.
I'm only a consultant neonatologist and an amazing artist. Yeah. I actually didn't ask about his hurdling.
And I love dancing and cooking.
Saving children in Africa or something.
Yeah. I do cleft palates at the weekend. Yeah.
Welcome to my podcast, The Laura Downing Experience. Many of you will know me from my Instagram page @Fabulous where I love to shine a light on topics that people normally shy away from. Today I spoke with Nikki and Liz Dwyer. Nikki and Liz are 2 sisters who are absolutely passionate about educating women on all things aesthetics and beauty. We discussed everything today, from hair loss to Botox, from bone health to boobs, and of course my favourite topic, vaginal health. We also spoke about how important it is to do your research and to be properly educated on any treatment, any doctor or any clinic you intend to use before you actually spend your hard-earned cash on treatments. You will get so much out of this podcast. To support the Laura Downing Experience, please check out my sponsors in the podcast notes below. Enjoy the show. So Nikki, I just want to know, how big are your kegs? So this is the first time we've done a 3-way in the pod.
Is this your first 3-way?
No
Won't be your last.
So I have the 2 sisters here, the 2 blonde sisters, and we had a bit of an issue trying to get the microphone close enough to Nikki's mouth so she'd be heard, but not.
She's used to think close to her mouth.
not resting on her breasts,
which is hard at the moment.
What size are they?
They're 38 double kegs.
Quantify that. You are breastfeeding.
I'm breastfeeding. I've just had my second baby in 18 months, and they are massive. Like, I was always big to begin with. I was always like a double D. Like now, they're out of control.
You could literally fit them under your arm.
I could tuck both of them under my arms and play them like a bagpipe.
You took them out the other day in front of me, and they're magnificent.
Sizable.
They are magnificent.
Giving Pammy a run for her money.
Absolutely are. You absolutely are. So, girls, we're here today to talk about your changes in career. Boobs and Botox, is right. But the change in career that you both have and why you've done it. So, well, you're a lawyer, so let's get started with you.
Yeah.
So much more interesting when you say you're a lawyer and now you like talk about Botox.
I know, it's funny.
It's either law or page 3, right?
It's such a, people think it's this huge seismic shift. It's not that much of a shift, really. So yeah, I'm a lawyer by trade and practiced law for a long time, and was a litigator. So I was the one who fights, and I fight for a living. I'm good at fighting.
She's great at fighting.
I'm good at fighting. Yeah, it's not a nice person to fight with, but so anyway, I was doing that for a long time, and then the opportunity for redundancy came about. And I thought about it for a couple of years, and then eventually I decided I was going to take the plunge and took redundancy. And I didn't really know what I was going to do next. All I knew is that I was going to take a bit of time out. So I did. I had like a proper Shirley Valentine moment. I went off to Spain with my bag of cash for my redundancy and Tinder downloaded on my phone. And I was there for the guts of 2 years. Okay. And I didn't really know what I was going to do next. I just knew that I wanted to do something different. I kind of wanted to work for myself. I didn't really want to be... I'm not actually a great team player. I'm actually a really good solo.
Your sister would attest to that.
So, and then Liz said to me one day, we were just having a conversation, and she said, I was thinking about doing this, and I'm going to do, like a basic issue. I had been speaking about a smaller version of Future Beauty, and I was like, if you're going to do it, like, you should go hard or go home, like, like just rent the RDS. And she was like, and that kind of is how it was born.
Okay. And Liz, you then? You're a journalist, yeah?
Yeah, so my evolution was because I was getting asked so many questions. Like, so I've been covering aesthetics and beauty for like 20 years now at this point. Mm-hmm. Beauty, obviously, originally, and then I like naturally started going into aesthetics, my 30s or whatever. When I said going into, I was covering more like technology and lasers and all that kind of jazz. And that intrigued me way more than any cream, to be honest, or any like lotion or potion. I suppose like most women my age as well, like we were brought up on this, ideal that creams would prevent aging. Creams was, turn back the tide and everything. And I got to a certain point and I was like, you know what? Nothing is working except for the stuff that goes on in clinics. So I was always really interested in this side of the industry anyway. And then I started doing like a TV, covering it on TV on TV3, covering treatments, going out, freezing my ass off, literally freezing my ass off. I'm not joking, like cool sculpting, whatever, and doing it on TV. And then kind of, I suppose, it became synonymous with that. And no one was really talking about it at the time. This was good 10 years ago,
Yeah.
And then people would always be coming up to me going, hey, that thing I saw you getting your eyebrows done on the telly, does it work? Or what would you do for my gels? So I was becoming like an informal, what's the word, referral board anyway, and your friends would be texting me.
Oh yeah.
And
will
they-
you ask your sister,
yeah.
Does this work? And will you do this? And so it turned into this whole big thing. It was kind of annoying. And but like by default then it kind of just evolved and my own interest in it grew, and Liz's obviously was growing as well. And so it just kind of evolved out of a natural need, which is kind of where all the good ideas come from, as you know.
Yeah, the need was there. Like women were like really interested in this area of beauty aesthetics. I call it everything to do with that side of things, aesthetics. And they obviously then we're looking at we're looking at women as well. Like we're looking at our idols, for instance, like Posh Spice, for example, getting better looking as she gets older, and you're like, what's going on here? I want in on that, So look, I think the interest is there from our generation anyway, but the information is not there. That's the problem. The interest is there, but the information is not there. And then you've like two sides of the coin. You've obviously the really scary cowboy clinic side of things, which I'm sure we'll discuss. And then you've the amazing side of things, but you kind of need to know who you're going to, what you're getting done,
Where did you get that information though?
Me, Nikki, you get it from me and Nikki. I suppose I've amassed it because I've been working with doctors and dermatologists and surgeons, whatever, for the guts of 20 years through work, like interviewing them or meeting them at conferences or whatever. So like I was kind of privy to this very, closed world, and I was like, why is this such a closed world? And I'm particularly the person putting it in my body. I need to know more about this,
Is it because though, there's still this secretiveness about it? People don't want necessarily others to know that they're getting it done.
I think that's over. I really
It
think.
is a bit,
the Botox
isn't it?
deniers. I mean, listen, I was one of them. I remember denying it through my veneer teeth at the time, going, I don't got Botox. IPL and pills, but like I don't know when the tide turned. Maybe 5 or 6
Although you
years
still
ago.
have people like J-Lo going, I use olive oil. Go away at
Yeah,
it.
I know.
Listen, how many faces has
Yeah,
J-Lo
yeah.
had?
Like
Say,
a
please
lot.
do.
Yeah. So no, but again, so the taboo is definitely lifted. Again, I think it's generational. The young ones are like on Instagram and it's a badge of honor, getting your lips done or whatever. The elder gener, like my mother's generation, like she would definitely not tell anyone if she was doing it.
No, nothing, yeah.
Like,
What is she doing it?
well, she's dead now, but
Oh,
sorry, she's doing it in her grave. She's probably having a fag, bit of Botox.
Something's definitely frozen. It's rigor mortis though, as opposed to actual botulinum toxin. Sorry, that's terrible.
okay. So
Sorry, Mum.
your mum isn't getting it done. Fine, that's a line drawn under that question anyway. But just so let's go back to. So loads of these innovations are coming out, more and more. It seems to be one new one a year.
Yeah.
Not even a year. Like there's
A
new ones
week.
every week.
But what have you done that is absolute crap?
Oh,
But
so
English-
many
Oh,
things.
we don't have enough time. I don't
So
think.
many things. We could do a whole podcast just about shit that doesn't work, really,
Yeah.
to
Okay.
be fair. Like there's amazing things. And this is like, I suppose, where we come into it. There is amazing technology out there for the right patient. And like that's half the battle. So like sometimes there's amazing technology and it's just being flogged to people, the wrong patients. It's never going to work on them. But I mean, it's the other stuff that like just doesn't work. I just remember years ago, we used to go to beauticians and you get wrapped in cling film and you'd be sent off and you'd be told you'd lost 3 inches all over your body and you'd be delighted with yourself.
Listen, that still happens.
I
Like
know.
those shrink wraps are a real thing, and they do work, but only temporarily.
But it's only for
Sweating
water,
water
yeah.
out of you.
So I
It's
call them
just-
Cinderella treatments. They're good for till midnight, and then you're like, boom,
Yeah,
back.
back to you.
Okay.
We've all done mad things. Like we were discussing yesterday. Like I think the worst thing I ever did was probably cool sculpting.
And what is cool sculpting?
So it's like this machine that gets put onto your ass, tummy, wherever your fat area is, and it sucks it in, and freezes it. And the idea is that it freezes the fat cells, and that the fat cells effectively, you kind of shed them through your lymphatic system. And I mean, like it's torturously painful.
You show me the video.
I know, it's horrific.
It looks awful. Like
Oh,
it
it's
looks like your
horrific.
belly is in a solid
Like a chicken
block
fillet.
then.
Yeah, it was horrible. And it's really, really sore, and it just doesn't really work. Like, I mean, it works if you're your perfect body weight and you have a tiny little pocket of fat that you need to get rid of, but like, I mean, it's not been sold to those people. It's been sold to people like me who's got 3 stone to lose. And I'm going in and going, oh, I'm clutching at these straws, going, oh, is this going to make me skinny? Can I have this? Oh, it's €1,000. Cool. Yeah, sure. Take my money. And then, being left afterwards going like, well, that doesn't work. I'm not the right patient for this.
Doesn't work as like the best, not the best outcome, but it's like, probably better than some of the other outcomes. Like I had it done as well. A slightly different version of it. You had the one that sucks your fat out. I just had the cool pads on me. Like, first of all, it was more painful than ever. Like, I'm not joking. Like, the actual process isn't, but the massaging afterwards. Oh my God.
Horrific,
it was just like, I can't, like, it was migraine pains. It was horrible. But then what happened to me was it worked, but weirdly, right? So like it worked as in where they put the pads, the fat was gone, but then there was lumps and shells of fat elsewhere. So like I had like this weird torso then of like bits of fat literally pulled out,
And mine's uneven now as well.
Yeah. So and then under your bra starts popping.
Effect then.
Yeah.
Let me look, as I said, everyone's different. Like some people get amazing results. And then you have obviously the case of Linda Evangelista where it backfired and had the complete opposite effect. And it grew, the fat cells grow rather than diminish. Rather than the fat cell freezing, it starts multiplying. So where she had it done was under her jawline and under her arms. To my knowledge, I don't know if she did it anywhere else done, but and it had this negative effect. So she obviously sued the company and she settled and got a huge case, basically.
But were you saying as well that if someone gets liposuction, if they get the fat taken out of their bum and put in their face, and if the fat cells in your bum are different to the ones in your face, so they might grow.
Again, so let's say like we all have fat cells, right? But certain ones, have different, I suppose, genetic predetermination. Like, certain women will put on weight on their butts, their, their tummy, whatever. We all have our little hot spots. And if you're taking that fat out from there and putting it here, then when you do put on weight, like that cell is probably likely to, expand more.
It's got like a genetic memory, apparently.
Yeah, it's where it should be. Hence the whole Madonna thing. That's like, again, we're not plastic surgeons. We don't know what Madonna had for sure. But the chat in the industry is she had fat transfer, and it's kind of fat transfer on top. But it's also, she's had so much other stuff done throughout the years. It was layers and layers and layers.
Yeah.
And to be fair to her, like she was first off the bat with, she was always trailblazing, and she's still trailblazing even, now, obviously with aesthetics as well. So, she did look particularly odd, but you keep you saying like it's the eyebrows. The eyebrows I think were dead thing. Like she's no eyebrows left. Obviously, it was an artistic thing, but the fat, the face.
She's always trying to just create controversy, and I kind of think that
I don't think she was doing the face to be controversial. I think she was doing it to look better. No,
she's like dyed her eyebrows bleach blonde. Surely, like it's just about creating a shocking look, right?
Possibly, yeah. But that was definitely. But even she was the face of pillow face. Remember, like in the late 90s, and she had like loads of filler done there.
Well, sure, she looked her own age now. If she actually hadn't done anything and looked her own age, she'd be being pulled apart as well. So I don't think women like that can win.
How old is she?
Right. She's in her 60s. Yeah.
But
there's also like a whole thing, like it's called, doctors done a piece on it, it's like the perception shift, right? When you're in the industry, like looking at these faces all the time, whether it's the record industry, whatever industry you're in, when you're kind of exposed to that level of perfection or like whatever, high glam or something, your perception completely changes
as to what's natural.
What looks good and what looks natural. And you, like, they've done tests, they show people pictures of, for argument's sake, the Kardashians at the beginning, and the person might say, oh, they look a bit unnatural, right? But then 500 photos later, by the time they come back to the person, they're like, God, her lips are fabulous,
Yeah.
So, hence Instagram, social
Isn't
media,
that
all that.
Instagram now?
Absolutely, because we're so exposed to these levels of perfection, all the time, and then we're completely skewed in our own heads as to what looks right and what looks perfect and pretty, compared to even the 80s. I was watching Happy Gilmore the other night, and I was like looking at the girl in it, and I was like, oh, she's a bit heavy. Like, my first thought was like, she's a bit heavy, she's a bit weird looking, isn't she? And I was like, but in the 80s or 90s, whenever it was launched, like she was this babe, but our perception shifted.
I was looking at the other day, I was watching Father of the Bride. Do you remember with like Steve Martin and Diane Keating?
Yeah.
And she's supposed to be like a 45-year-old mom in that, and he's supposed to be in his 40s or whatever as well. And like, I mean, in what they look like
grandparents,
now, yeah. And like the what are they called? The
Frank,
the three women. What are the three old women?
First Wives Club?
The Happy Girls, the something girls.
The Gilmore Girls.
No.
Oh, I know, Golden Girls.
The Golden Girls. The Golden Girls were in their 50s.
Were they?
Yeah.
Blanche is her 50s.
Blanche was 55.
I don't think she was
Blanche
even
Dubois
55.
or whatever her name was, and the rest of them, they're all in their 50s. So that's what like our perception of a 50-year-old was like in the 80s.
Yeah.
And now our perception of a 50-year-old
J-Lo.
is J-Lo.
Yeah.
You know?
Not everybody.
But do you think
obviously.
that puts an awful lot of pressure on women? So
Hell
this
yeah.
is- yeah.
Yeah, it
So
does.
then, you know, what Future Beauty stands for.
Is not that. We're not saying
No.
go out and look like a Love Island, entry. We're saying basically most of the people who are coming to the show or talk to us or who have elicited our advice are not trying to look like, J-Lo or anything. They're just like, I have a problem that is really annoying me and I want to fix it. I don't want to waste my money on the wrong treatment, the wrong person,
Yeah.
or God forbid on something that's going to damage my health or, make me blind. So it's not about, it's scars, it's like teeth, it's psoriasis, it's hair loss, it's weight loss. It's like,
Like that's the other side of this whole thing is like, look, there's an aesthetic side to it where we're talking about boobs and Botox, but that's probably 10% of it, maybe 20% of it. And the rest of it is all about like real women, real problems, stuff that every single one of us has. And so for us, it's not about it's not about body shaming or fat shaming or any of those kind of things. It's actually the total opposite. It's about empowering women with education, with information, and like about treatments that work, treatments that don't work, and also the best people to go and get them done. So like the biggest confusion in the industry is like, people see people in these white coats and they're like, oh, so-and-so's an esthetician or an esthetician. I never even say
it's
that
an American
word.
word. Yeah, it's not even a term we have here. Yeah.
And she's got 10 years experience in aesthetics. And then you go and like look at them and they're a hairdresser who's done a false course in Botox administration, an online course in Botox.
Not Botox, but maybe filler or something.
But they do these online courses, or they go over to the UK and they do these 2 and 3 day courses and stuff. And like,
If they're lucky, you can do it online.
You can literally do it online. And I mean, that's terrifying. So we had this conversation recently. You were in college for how many years?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
And in your 5 years, you're like a lot of your study would have followed the medical.
So we would have done first year with med
With med
students,
students,
and then the rest actually just by ourselves. So 70 pharmacy students, but it's all pharmaceutical chemistry, pharmaceutics, pharmacology, and pharmacognosy, and then practice pharmacy. So those 5 subjects mainly. But there was no anatomy and physiology. But I do know that there's pharmacists that can administer it in the UK.
Yeah.
Do they not have to do a kind of a course or something?
No.
Well, I'm not sure the depth of the course, but I just know myself. I would feel that I would have to go to medical school to learn the anatomy of the face, to do what a dentist does or a doctor does, in order to feel comfortable myself.
Yeah,
as a responsible professional.
Yeah, but that's because you're a responsible professional. Like, and herein lies the problem. There's plenty of people who are not responsible professionals. They think they have, a good eye for this, which they may well do. But I mean, they've no concept of anatomy. They've no concept of dosing. They've no concept of, like this, the skeleton of the face, the muscles of the face, the fat pads of the face.
Beauticians now, I do know, like if they're doing those, like from Conroy and those courses and stuff, but they do anatomy, and they do a lot of work on like a lot of skin modules and stuff like that, so they're not completely they're not coming completely left of field into this,
but they're not understanding the vascular system behind the face. Like, so they look at the surface, like literally skin deep, and then beyond that.
But they can inject filler, so they can't inject Botox because Botox is a prescription.
Not in Ireland. They can in the UK. Yeah.
Oh, can they?
Okay. Certain people can't. Like, you can get it through. Like, if someone prescribes it to you, you could be a mobile practitioner. And someone could. That's a big issue they have over there. But they're completely regulating. Well, they're not completely regulating. Sorry, they're starting to license things in the UK, which we obviously need to hurry up and follow suit with.
But here, currently in Ireland, anybody, I can go and do an online course for 2 days or 3 days in filler administration. And then I can open up my clinic tomorrow. I can wear a white coat. I can call myself an expert injector. And I can start administering fillers into
that you
people's
bought
faces.
online from Korea.
That I bought online.
And you can administer them, but you can't. So
Dissolve.
the hyaluronides that you need to dissolve it, is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's
Hyaluronides,
prescription only.
It's prescription only, so they can't actually administer the product that is necessary if they if it goes wrong. And,
And not only
it,
that,
right?
though, like the other, that is that's accurate. But the other kind of issue is that without kind of proper medical training, how do you know the difference between a bit of red swelling, which naturally occurs from like your face being poked and prodded at, versus something that's like a vascular occlusion or a proper infection, or and that's where the real problems is, because they're not trained to spot complications early and quickly and act quickly. And even if they could spot the complication, they can't do anything about it. And
The other thing is,
I was talking to a doctor at the last show you did, and he said a girl, he's practicing out of Blanchetown somewhere, and he's saying a girl had come to him with a hole in her face. So basically she got filler done. She got that infection that you're talking about, an infection, went back to the person who administered it. The person said, no, it's just your body getting used to it. Even though it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, this kind of infective part of her skin, it ended up rupturing. Now she had a hole in her cheek and she had to get plastic surgery. And when her mother brought her back to this place that she got it done in, because it was cash only and there was no record, the person who'd administered it said, you weren't here.
Yeah.
So there's no backup there.
And actually, that's a really valid point. What's interesting, like this, let's say, person X, beautician X, probably could be really good at doing filler, and she's a great artistic eye. She's not answerable to anybody. Whereas if you're a nurse, a dentist, a doctor, you're answerable to a council. So you could be struck off. So your entire career is gone. So they have to, adhere to certain levels. So that's another level of safety. Saying that, like, you could go to the best plastic surgeon in the world and they can still botch you. It can happen to anybody. It's not. Training doesn't necessarily mean it's eliminated, like it just means you've a lot more safety nets, like you're talking about that girl lips. Remember when I was 19, right? So I think I was possibly the first person in Ireland to get lip filler, right? I was working in the RDS and
she got like pig collagen pumped into her.
Pig fucking collagen put into my lips, right? I didn't know. I was on a stand. This is so ironic that Future Beauty's back in the RDS. I'm like, it's come full circle. I was working for Olive Oile or Ugle. It was called Ugle back then. We were doing face and all this is something. I was on a promotions team. This guy beside me was like, "How do you want to go up on stage and do lip filler?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yeah!" Like, no,
live.
Yeah, live. And but no one had. Like, plastic surgery was only for Hollywood, at that stage,
Yeah. This is in the early 90s as well.
Like, it was 1997. And went up on stage, got the lip filler. I thought I was only gorgeous. I swear to God, the lips were like this, absolutely massive things. I thought I was just deadly. I remember going to Marbella.
Like 2 sausages.
Oh, listen, I went to Marbella the next day with my girlfriends and I was I was lying to them then at the time. I had a big hair extension thing and everything. And I was like, this is what I told them. I was like, I burnt my lips on the sunbed, right? Because that was actually a fairly,
acceptable, socially acceptable thing to do back in the
time.
day.
Yeah. But then I started drinking on holidays, right? It was a girls' holiday and they started getting bigger and bigger. And it only worked. It went bigger on one side. So it was like this, right? And by the time I came home from the holiday, I was like,
God.
This.
She literally looked like somebody had punched her in the face and one side of her lip was like swollen up so much that she couldn't breathe out of one nostril. Like it was that big. It was outrageous.
And I remember Mom dragging me around everywhere, bringing me back to the place that done it. They were like, "You signed a disclaimer, not our problem. Off you go."
And the GP wouldn't go near you.
The GP was like, "I've never even heard of this." No one had heard of filler at that stage. It was a very unusual thing.
Didn't he say to you, because I remember it was Victor Fennell at the time, didn't he say to you, he was like, "I can give you like an anti-inflammatory. That's about all I can do. I'm not touching you."
Yeah, he wouldn't touch me. Yeah.
So what ended up happening? She came home. This is the start of her aesthetic journey. Sisters.
You're
she
really
came home.
like I would never have done something like that.
Listen,
you're so
game.
Do you want to know what I did?
No, we have to finish the story.
She came home and I was like, "Oh my God, Liz, like that is horrific." And she was like, "I think I just need to lance it." And I was like, "Grant, okay, let's do it. I'm gonna do." I love that stuff. I love the picking and the squeezing. And
I love squeezing.
Mad for it.
Do you watch Dr. Pimple Popper?
We love it.
I actually salivate.
Me too.
Salivate when I see it come out.
Yes.
It's
like some weird need. It's like
yes, so good.
Yeah.
So I got basically like a big thick darning needle, like no finesse.
Now, just to quantify, I was super drunk at this point.
Yeah, I think I might have used like a lighter to clean it, or and I lanced it and then squeezed the shit out of it. I mean, it was just, I can still smell it.
Yeah, it was green and gross, and it just kept coming. Like you see a spot, right, and there's like, you're amazed at how much goo can come out of a little tiny pimple.
This was outrageous.
This was outrageous.
So
like
this
it just
kept
kept
coming out and pus,
but also it was really badly infected. So just like I still have a little scar there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, from that time when you butchered me after I butchered myself first of all. But yeah, so that was back in the day.
Sorted out then.
Yeah, was grand.
Lucky you didn't lose.
I actually fainted.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, God, Jesus, that's grand. Thank God. Listen, I wouldn't advise anyone to do that.
I know that we were like, disclaimer, like, do not do this at home.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, so I was 19. That was my first.
97, wow.
That was my first foray into aesthetics. You think it would have turned me off, right?
No, but
I've had a few other
Go on.
disasters along the way.
Tell me about them. Go
Oh,
on.
the boobs
were
were
another freaking disaster. So I was 30. And I just started an image, and I'd always wanted bigger boobs, like end of story, you know. But I was too afraid to go for the surgical route. And this injection, the boob jab, had come on the market, and it was basically filler for your boobs, right? And they pop it in, but it was much thicker than filler that would have been used in your
it's a
your
really
lips or
thick,
your
calcium kind of one.
very fat, gloopy, jelly one. Anyway, simple enough. You pop it in the breast.
Basically like filler for your boobs.
Filler for your boobs, but
And
really thick.
Who pops it in your breast? What are you talking about?
The doctor pops it in your
All
breast.
right.
You didn't do it yourself, for Christ's sake.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't know with you. The way you're talking.
Anyway, the doctor injects it into your breast, and I was like, great. Like, walked out of there going, I am Pamela Anderson. Great, thank you very much. And then, of course, complications started. So, because it was filler, and again, this can happen with a real implant as well. Because it was filler, it was only supposed to last 12 months. And then, like normal filler, the body would reabsorb it and break it down and so forth. But instead of reabsorbing it, I encapsulated it because it was like, there's a foreign body here. So I started getting like these golf ball lumps that were forming all around the breast to take the filler away. Or not to, sorry, they were kind of trying to protect the body, you know. So I remember going back to the doctor and they were like,
she had a bunch of grapes underneath her skin.
Yeah, so the doctors were like, I don't really know if there's anything we can do with this. I remember going to the breast clinic then in Vincent's, and the lady, the consultant was like, geez, I've never seen this before. And she was like, do you mind if I bring in all my students? And I was like, oh my God, right. Like, so there I was lying like on the bed going, like, could I be any more stupid? Do you know what I mean? And like, they were like, why would you do this? Why would you do this now to yourself? And you just let someone, and I felt like such a pillow, I have to say. And they were all like having a prod of me and having a look and like taking notes as if I was like some absolute idiot, which I mean, obviously on reflection, I was. So I eventually had to go in and they did the hyaluronase and everything, but I can never pronounce it properly. But even at that actually destroys your tissue as well. So people thinking, oh, if filler goes wrong, you can inject, the antidote as such. The antidote it doesnn't just take it out and you walk away. You can destroy your tissue and so forth as well. So it's
that's the other thing that like I'd love young girls to really realize.
Not just young girls, all girls, all women.
I know, but particularly these there's this perception out there that like if I don't like it, I can just get them dissolved, especially with the lips. It's not that straightforward, and it's not that simple, and it especially for things like teardrop filler and some of the fillers as well. By the way, are like they call them like teeth. It's like growing teeth in your face. They're so hard. The calcium in it is they're so dense that like they feel like bone. And some of them you just can't really dissolve them. Like you can kind of dissolve them, but like not totally, not fully ever. And then other ones you dissolve them completely, and what ends up happening is you end up having like dents.
Because it can damage. It can damage the tissue,
or and also filler draws water. So it draws water to an area, and then when you take the filler away, all of a sudden you've dehydrated the area totally. You've removed this, and the water's gone, so you can end up with looking worse with big baggy saggy eyes. It's terrible.
Than what you began with. Yeah.
So you just have to be careful. Like that's why going to the right person is so important, particularly with filler. But look with everything. But with filler, can't emphasize enough how important it is to go to somebody with like really good facial anatomy understanding.
But also an artistic eye, because that's the other problem. Like you were saying, you could have someone who's done 30 years in college, and spend their whole life working on corpses or something, but they might have a good eye, and not just a good eye, like say, like it is art, like trying to balance the face and all that kind of stuff. But a good eye would also say, no, you've gone too far. Back off. I'm not going any further. Or you're like, give me more filler, give me more whatever it is, Botox, give me thread lips, whatever you want. And they're like, no, it's too much. You need someone to go like hold your horses there. Now, like you'd rein me in and vice versa. But you see, this is, the perception shift is wrong. You know what I mean? People are like, I need more, and that's it again. I
want to go back to your boobs though.
Sorry, back to the boobs. Yeah,
they look great now, but obviously.
So anyway, I had to they had to hyaluronase the lumps out and then squash them out, like literally squash them out. It was like wallpaper paste coming out of my boobs, and I had to do that 3 times. And course, that product is now taken off the market. It was only like it only survived about two years in the market. I don't remember the name of it now. But anyway, yeah.
So would your advice be then to allow something to come onto the market and let it be used for a few years before you even try it?
Yeah.
So stupid. And also, I mean, don't want anyone to be suffered or botched, but don't be the first person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, again, being a journalist, that was hard because you're going to be first in line to be offered a lot of these treatments. You know, and so I'd be much more conscientious about what I would say yes to now. But I've tried. Well over 100 treatments. I'd say. Tweakments, sorry. Maybe more.
What's the tear trough? Because I hear a lot about that, and you were talking
fillers,
about
tear trough fillers. So,
and you were saying like sometimes people are advised for tear trough fillers, and it's just like they're absolutely not the candidate for it.
It just depends. Like, again, like it's so specific. So it all comes back down to like facial anatomy, and like some people will have lost their fat pads because they've lost weight and they've aged. Other people have muscle atrophy. Other people have thin skin. Other people have
sinuses.
Like, I mean, like your facial anatomy is as unique as your face. And so you need to have somebody who really can assess whether you're a suitable candidate for it or not. Because if you're not a suitable candidate for it, you end up with like these big puffy pillow faces. Or if you don't have enough fat or muscle or bone to support it, and you're getting tear trough filler, it literally starts to migrate then down your face.
Or you can get a shelf.
Yeah, you can get shelves if too much is put in, too little is put in. Like,
or you get bulgy.
Your eyes kind of get a bit squidgy.
And the bulge as well. Like, and you can get puffier because, as you said, it's a water magnet. So like you really need someone to go, listen, it's not going to work for you. But they're like, a lot of people are going, this is 600 quid's worth of filler. Bing, bing, 2 minutes, bye, see you.
And then also like how your face reacts to it. Like I get really, really swollen from hitting. Like,
oh my gosh, you look like Desperate Dan.
I got cheap.
You were sisters.
Well, I got filler. Oh no, it's gone back a good few years. And to be fair, like I got a little bit of filler here on my nasolabial folds and my cheekbones and on my jaw to kind of like give me a more defined jaw. A small amount of filler all over, well placed filler all over. But I mean, oh my god!
Yeah, you look
literally for about 2 weeks, I literally looked like I'd been in. I don't know, like
you look like that cartoon character from Toy Story. What's his name? The guy, the robot guy. What's his name?
Yeah,
Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
I was very.
Is that what you get that every time you get filler? Then is that like an allergic reaction?
No. It's just like. It's
swelling.
It's just swelling. And some people, especially if you're a bit autoimmune, any kind of autoimmune conditions or autoimmune diseases, and I'm definitely like a little bit more on the autoimmune side, and so I just get so swollen, so I just don't really get it anymore. Like I might get it once in a blue moon every couple of years, like 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
So it looks good though. It looks good.
They put it like in under the eye. Is that it?
He actually put it on the actual the socket.
Okay.
So, and the idea is that when you have those bags that we all get, like from looking tired, sometimes it's because you've lost your fat there. Sometimes it's genetic. Just actually, some people are just genetically predisposed towards it. Other people, it's weight loss. So they put the filler under here, and the idea is that it fills out that dent, and so it no longer.
And listen, when it's done right, it's like game changing to people.
Amazing,
like it makes you can go from looking absolutely wrecked to looking perfect. You know, like, and it can be really, not just making you look youthful. Like you just look fresher, brighter, healthier. Your eyes are, and it takes away the bluish color as well because the
dark circles. So some people are dark circles.
Yeah, that makes your eyes look like whatever. You're brown, blue, whatever. It'll pop the color and everything. Like like as if you're putting on loads of concealer and stuff like that. It has like unreally good effect done right, but done wrong, it's all sorts of massive.
And again, it's just it comes down to the whole like patient selection thing. So there's people who contact us all the time, and they're like, "Oh, do you think I should get tear trough filler?" And you're like looking at them going like, "Why would you do that? Like you don't need it." Or the other extreme, you're gone way beyond it.
Yeah.
And what you actually need is you need to get a blepharoplast, like an actual surgical removal of the fat pad. And like, I mean, and the real problem is you go into a clinic and you say, "Hi, I really want tear trough filler," and they're like, "Yeah, that's €900 or 800, whatever it is." And like, if you're not a decent candidate for it, like, good luck to you.
And the thing, actually, you just mentioned blephs, right? That's a really interesting thing, blepharoplasty, when they take a little bit of the skin off here and the hair. Often people are saying like, "Oh, I'd never go for surgery. I'd never do the surgical route." Listen, whatever people feel comfortable with, that's fine. But often you're like, by the time you've spent that much money on filler over the course of 5 years, gone through the ups and downs of it, like as in the filler is dissolving, the filler is like, swollen, the filler looks good, it doesn't look good, blah, 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 blah. You would have been better off going for the blepharoplasty in the first place.
People are scared though.
People are very scared
because surgery is so final as well, and you can't really, undo it, especially when you're removing something.
But blepharoplasty is one of the ones that's actually very minor in theory, like with a good oculoplastic surgeon.
Well, obviously, yeah.
Like you're just removing a little bit of skin there, and like the upper lid is much more. It's not as invasive as the lower ones when they are removing the thing.
I'm absolutely eye phobic. Even you guys touching your eyes. And when I was in the when I'm in the pharmacy and people will come in to me and they want me
Conjunctivitis.
They want me to look at their eye, and the girls would always know, like, Laura.
Yeah, they don't know you.
Yeah, come out. And the big sticky eyes. I would look at anything. I would squeeze as much pus out of a spot, or I'd look at a big
Such a weird thing to be like.
You could show me any part of your anatomy, but the eyes and any kind of infection just make me go.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you wear glasses or
a little bit
contacts?
of balm in the mouth? No, I could never put. I could never put contacts in my eyes.
I tried once to put a contact in my eyes for Halloween. I couldn't. It took me about 4 hours. I had
red
red
eyes.
eyes.
Touching onto your eyes, I'm just like,
really,
absolutely, yeah.
Now, but what about when you're in getting treatments done in the IRT?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
See, you'll tolerate it for beauty. It's hilarious, isn't it? People are like, I'll put up with
near
this.
My eyes. When I'm getting my Botox done, it's just like a little smattering around the outside.
Have you ever had any radio frequency done in your lids or anything here? See that?
No.
That'll come.
That'll come
now. It'll be down the line.
By the time you leave here,
I'll
tell you, by the time you leave this conversation, you'll be like, do you know what I think I should get?
But that's wrong as well. Like, we shouldn't be. We're not trying to promote people developing problems or developing issues. Do you know what I mean? But if something is annoying you, like, no matter what it is, and it's always something weird. I always think it's funny because people always come to me, or me, not just in general, they always say, do you know what's really wrecking my head? And I'm in my head, I'm like,
the fat above my knees.
Yeah,
like,
you're like,
are you sure it's not?
And they're like
your uneven eyes?
Kind of. And you're kind of, they're like going, I'm going to go and get I'm getting this fat removed from under my arm or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, sorry, would you not spend the money on your teeth? Because all I can see is like crooked, yellow chipped teeth. And
so
I'm like,
anyone that's going to Liz now for advice on anything, you know that she's actually thinking inside your teeth are manky.
Yeah. Actually, can I talk to you about teeth? Right?
Do, please.
I think people should spend all of their money on their teeth. I think before you spend any money on anything else, put your money into your teeth. I'm telling you, it's like the number. Think about it. Like, what do you notice about someone who has a nice smile? There's all those memes going around on Instagram, and there's people with eyebrows missing, and all you can see is the tooth missing or whatever, bad teeth. So when we used to work, I used to work at a fancy department store, and it was hard to tell at the time who had money. They were like, because everyone was coming in with all their fake gear and everything, and you're like, who's rich and who's actually fake rich, Yeah. And they were like, look at the teeth. The teeth will always tell you. It's not just about money, but like people need to spend money on their teeth. And I used, again, working in the magazines, I'd remember the girls coming in with the hair extensions, the nails, the Louis Vuitton bags. They're spending an absolute fortune on themselves. And I'm like, all I can say is the bad teeth. Do you know what I mean?
Isn't that an American thing though too?
I don't know. I'm just
in America, isn't it always like they all have their teeth done? They spend
dental
so
care,
much money
dental plans. Yeah.
So, and I think sometimes us Irish go over to America to business meetings and they think that
stay to our teeth. Yeah, I know. Like, I mean, honestly, like I think our generations are much better with it. But I'm like, if I had X amount of money to spend on my beauty or my face or whatever it is for the rest of my life, I would put it all into teeth above all.
I suppose there's a stage though, like there's a tier, right? So it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, except for your face, right? Like, so it's like teeth are at the bottom level. Like you have to have good teeth, and then it's like decent skin. And then you're into the other stuff, the add-ons and the diamond glow treatments and the extra
philos and all the nice bits.
So like,
what is that treatment that you were saying about on the eye, or what was it?
Radio frequency.
What's that?
So radio frequency
my favorite thing of all
kind
time.
of, I mean, and there's so many versions of it now at the moment. It's like, first of all, let's talk about what radio frequency is, right? So it's basically, it's just an energy, like it's on the energy spectrum. I remember first going, why would I be putting radio frequency in my face? It doesn't sound right, but when you look at it, you're like microwave on one end of the spectrum, radio frequency energy on another. So it's actually very low, but when you put energy,
almost like a scientist, the way you're talking.
Almost like a scientist. When you're putting energy, if you put energy deep down into the kind of dermal layers, it's going to stimulate those kind of the collagen and fibroblast production. It's going to stimulate the cells. It's going to kind of get everything moving basically on the deep down level. Okay, we've been pricking around with radio frequency now for about 20 years in aesthetics. Actually, probably longer, but now they've gotten much better at delivering it. Now it's coming in little microneedles. It's coming in with, all sorts of ultrasound technology, HIFU, loads of different ways. Same premise, get that energy deep down.
And the deeper down, the better.
The deeper down, yes and no, but then you can kind of overdo it as well. So that's the other thing. But then they're resurfacing the top as well with the needles. And then technically when you're putting in all these little micro wounds, micro punctures, the body goes into healing mode. Collagen's going to start surging, that kind of healing factor kind of kicks in really strongly. So you get new skin on the top, new skin underneath, basically. So the skin that comes through is better. But particularly around the eyes, because it's very hard to treat the eyes with anything, right?
Yeah.
You can't be putting Botox up there, you can't be putting filler in there. And like, we all have the crappy, not all of us, but crappy lids are a thing, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously this starts getting lower and lower and lower. Like if you look at photos.
So anyone that's listening and not looking, Liz is just pulling her eyebrow down.
Her eyes
over.
Laura's about to have a heart attack.
And I literally have a little bit of bomb in my mouth looking at you doing that.
I'm just touching my eyes.
You're not touching. You're pulling your eyebrow down over.
I won't touch them. I'll put my hands under my arse, right? Anyways, okay, so radio frequency, particularly around the eye area, is good because it's one of the energies you can put in. And now, again, only certain devices can use it. Like there's rollerball devices that the energy can go through. Can you Secret Pro your eyelids?
Yeah, right up to the.
What's Secret Pro?
Secret Pro is, you can talk about that, your fave.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I love it so much. It's a radio frequency microneedling device. And so basically it has like the head on the laser effectively has hundreds of tiny little needles that can go 6 millimeters deep into your skin.
Right.
And each one is like a postage stamp with 100 needles or whatever. And they have all these little tiny wounds into your skin and then they deliver the radio frequency into the skin, into the subdermal layers. And I think that this is like the future of all the anti-aging stuff. Like I think we're already seeing like a huge decline in fillers now. Like people are less interested in they're kind of rolling back the time a little bit on the fillers. And this is about I suppose it's about because Botox is I suppose about preserving, right? And this is about doing something beyond preserving. It's about kind of reversing.
Okay.
And creating new skin and making you look younger and plumper and fresher and tighter and better skin quality and skin texture and skin tone. So it's kind of an all-in-one device. It's amazing.
It's bloody sore. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like you'd want to have seriously high pain threshold. Now they give you Valium. Do they give you Valium?
No, they give you lidocaine though.
I think they can give you Valium as well. Like a lot of people take a Valium or some kind of chill out pill.
I didn't find it too bad. I got it done. No, remember I couldn't. I wasn't allowed to have lidocaine because I was breastfeeding.
Okay.
Lidocaine is a numbing agent. That
like you weren't allowed to put it on your skin because you're breastfeeding.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
you're not allowed to do anything when you're breastfeeding.
But you know what? That really annoys me. Like I talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
There's so much you can do when you're breastfeeding. When it comes to using medications, and there's a lot of information out there.
Misinformation.
Yes, and I would see it even professionally. A lot of people would be told that. I've had women coming into me in the pharmacy saying that they were in accident emergency, and the doctor there told them they couldn't take an antibiotic while they're breastfeeding.
Stop.
Like unbelievable stuff. And it's just that people are scared. Look, I get it. People are scared of litigation.
Yeah.
Because they're scared to say, oh, if you do this and someone, and something goes wrong.
Goddamn lawyers.
But the reality is, lawyers are just absolute bitches. But the reality is there's loads of information out there and loads of, I suppose, historic information about what you can and can't do while you're breastfeeding.
You can do Botox, by the way. I only found this out the other day because I met one of the...
And you can drink.
Yeah, well, let's not go there. The consultant dermatologist,
drink,
she was telling me...
It's amazing. Did you see that study by them? She's a microbiologist, the Canadian woman. And she basically sat down. It's actually brilliant. It's on YouTube. And she basically sat down and she drank 15 gin and tonics. 15, 1-5. And then tested her breast milk at each junction after each drink.
And what was the verdict?
The verdict was that at the end, after her
15
gin and tonics, that the volume of alcohol in her breast milk was basically like a thimble in a swimming pool. Like it's so
You know, we're going to get a lot.
I know, we're
No,
gonna
no,
get-
no,
we're
no.
gonna
I will
bees now.
qualify it by saying the alcohol level in your breast milk is the same as the alcohol level in your blood. So if you breastfeed your baby,
Yeah.
then have your drink,
Yes.
and then wait a couple of hours,
Mm.
then the breast milk, it will be gone from the breast milk because it will have been
Oh,
metabolized.
Mm.
But the more you drink, obviously, and the quicker you drink,
Mm.
the more of it will be in your breast milk. So you just have to be careful. A woman can enjoy a glass of wine while she's breastfeeding her baby, generally.
Problem is, we go
because
from a
with-
glass to bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
Two
But
bottles.
also, obviously, no sleeping with your baby in that. That's very important. But I've loads of information about that on my.
Yeah.
on
But
my
a lot of
site.
people are saying
And
to us,
actually,
like,
the
what
doctor
can
that
you?
the doctor that painted that picture
Yeah.
up there of me, we had a podcast together. A neonatologist, also an artist, like probably.
Wow, yeah, I know the underachievers.
I know. Probably an Olympic gold medalist
Yeah,
as well.
definitely. Yeah, I'm an amazing cook.
Yeah.
And
really
great
good
bed.
looking.
And great bed.
I know, and a wonderful father.
Yeah.
Turns out. So
Yeah.
so we had a great talk about breastfeeding and medicines and what you can and can't do. And you can drink. You just need to be very careful and
Yeah.
obviously follow the guidelines. But anyway, we diverted there. What were we talking about?
Botox and breastfeeding.
Oh,
Botox.
lidocaine. So you
Lidocaine,
couldn't
yeah.
put lidocaine on.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I
Okay,
think
okay, anyway.
again, it comes into that whole like litigation thing.
Yeah,
People
of
are like
course.
scared. So it's like, no, you can't do that. You can do this, but you can't. So anyway, I did it with no pain, numbing agent.
You
at
loved
all.
it. Back to this, we're talking about Sigma
Yeah.
Pro. Yeah.
So I thought, like, I still think because I've had back-to-back pregnancies, nobody will do anything on me. Other than basically a bit of facials, like you can't. There's very little you can do when you're pregnant.
No, he's very little you can do. Fair enough.
So between those, I was kind of trying to preserve my face a little bit because obviously I've been getting Botox for years. I've been getting Botox for over 10 years with my beloved Jane Mulrooney. And anyway, so like I while I was having my sabbatical from Jane, I was trying to preserve my face somewhat.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I thought it was amazing. I do think it's like really revolutionary. I actually think it's the future of anti-aging.
Can I ask you about the Botox? If you're getting it done year after year,
Mm.
does your muscle atrophy then?
No. No. It doesn't fully atrophy at all. No, there's loads of studies on that. Now, it's going to naturally start thinning and stuff like that, But actually, now we have M-Face, right? You tried the M-Face.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of that is like basically, again, it's not necessarily new technology. Remember, like we all used to be even in beauticians, they're all using electromagnetic, stimulation to get the muscles, kind of kickstart the muscles. But they're now using electromagnetic technology and radio frequency in one, so it's getting the muscles nice and thick. Because the muscles, again, like if they're not used, if they're floppy, they're just going to become exactly same thing in your face. So, so Botox, that is a misconception, and they have studies done on that your muscles will atrophy. They won't atrophy, but they will age as they would anyway, you know what I mean? And again, as you said, use them or lose them kind of thing. So now you're talking about the future of being Secret Pro and radio frequency and microneedling and all that kind of stuff. I think this is going to be, that's going to kind of slot in nicely now with that. Getting the M-Face, getting your muscles tight. People have been
Also
doing face yoga.
biostimulators, things like PRP.
Listen, I'm telling you, that's where I think it's going. I think we will look back in
Stem
20 years and we'll
cells.
be like, what were we doing? Injecting ourselves with Botox and filler. Stem cells and like I was at there's a whole new I can never pronounce the right. Episomes, exosomes, I can't pronounce them properly. This is kind of where it's all going.
Genomes.
Exosomes are taken from umbilical cords from hospitals, which sounds really touchy,
Right
right?
to the bins.
No, but that's what I was
Not
going. I was
far
like, where
off
are
it.
you getting them? And they're like, no, people actually, they sign a form saying, yes, you can have the umbilical cords.
Yeah.
So
I actually signed that in
yeah, like a
hospital.
lot of places, there's a lot of places using for scientific research, obviously
Yeah.
stem cells and so forth. But what they do is they take the cell, they remove the RNA from it, so it's no longer a human. It's no longer, it's not like I put it into you and you have part of my genetics in you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they're removing the human side of it, but it's still got the stem cell
Are you sure
growth
it's not the DNA they're removing?
RNA,
Oh,
not
okay.
DNA. So, oh Jesus, something nucleic acid. I don't know. Anyway, so they remove the RNA, so it's not belonging to someone else in theory, right? And then
Okay.
it just becomes a stem cell, a growth factor, and so forth.
Yeah.
So it's kickstarting your cells, going bing, 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 off you go. So go back to being 12. Thank you very much.
Did you have the PRP done?
Yeah.
recently.
So I liked.
I thought it was rubbish.
Did you not
No,
like it?
you
Oh,
liked
I
it.
loved it. So I had it done
See, it's
recently.
not funny, right? So
Mm.
I had PRP done
Mm.
and I liked it,
Yeah.
and you had it done, you liked it, and you had it done, you thought it was rubbish.
Rubbish.
So, and that's where
Waste of blood.
It's interesting
Yeah.
how I think maybe some people suit it and some people don't, and it's a bit like the Cella chair.
Yeah.
When we were talking about this, because it's all about vaginal, your
but-
vaginal health as well is important, isn't it?
Oh,
Are
listen,
you looking at your phone to see if your baby needs to breastfeed?
No, I was gonna show you a photo of me last week. Did I show you this?
Nikki's breastfeeding a 3-month-old who literally looked. Oh God, what was that? Was that
me
PRP?
last week?
So Nikki should have to show me her face after PRP. Well, I put mine up on my Instagram, and
God, I got a bit of a fright afterwards. I have to say, I was a bit like, Jesus Christ.
There is a bit of downtime, about a week, but I was
like kind of a day later. I was totally
skin.
fine a day later. So I did a thing called the cellular matrix, which is it's PRP mixed with HA, so with hyaluronic acid.
And something else.
Oh, that's it. And so it's basically kind of like Profilo and
Thyronase?
No, that's it. So it's kind of like Profilo and your own plasma or whatever. But like, I mean, like, I think my face looks great after just a week later.
Yeah, Nikki, you look lovely.
I think I look gorgeous.
Hashtag modest.
Your skin does look better, to be fair. But you definitely need the Botox. You really need to get back on the old
I know, I do.
Like,
I miss my Botox, but I will be. I'll get it soon.
Just come into Jane.
I did. I was.
I
even said to her yesterday, I was like, please, will you give me some Botox? She was like, no love. And her lovely soft.
But then I met
wait.
a dermatologist the other day, and she was like, how's Nikki? I was like, she's grand, except she's mad to get the Botox. And she was like, what's the problem? I was like, well, she's breastfeeding. She was like, what's the problem? And I was like, you can't get. And she was like, yes, you can.
I know.
I know you can, but it comes down to this whole insurance thing. It comes down to insurance thing. People won't do it.
Well, she also, Jane knows you're a lawyer, so she knows you're first and
don't give your one end, and she'll definitely say
not in that case.
So let's talk about the other treatments that are available at the show, because I know that it isn't just all about the face. So can we talk about the
vaginas? Let's talk about vaginas.
Well, I love nothing.
We love talking about vaginas.
Well, Liz and I joked that we could actually run an entire event and fill the RTS 5 times over. Just called the Vagina Show. Just talk about vaginas.
Can I be involved? If you do that, I want to be front and center.
We might rebrand, basically. Just call it the Vagina Show.
It shouldn't really fall. Like, this is something I genuinely get up on my soapbox and start ranting about. But like, I mean, it drives me mad so much in this country that like we don't talk about it. We've all got these problems. 1 in 3 Irish women over the age of 35 are incontinent. 1 in 3.
Stress incontinence.
Not incontinence.
Just incontinence. No, not stress incontinence. It's because it's the gambit, right?
Yeah?
It's the gambit. It's not stress incontinence. So it's the whole gambit. And like, I mean, people think that they have this notion about incontinence that it's like, you're wearing the granny pads and the big massive knickers, and that you're wet to the knees all day, every day.
She says,
smell of pee. It reminds me of a joke. Somebody told me, what has 300 legs and smells of urine? The audience at Live at 3. Do you remember Live at 3? It's Live at 3 still on. Anyway,
I think Live at 3 though.
You might need to edit that out.
I don't think it's on anymore. So it's okay.
Anyway, sorry. So I digress. So yeah, like
1 in 3 is stress incontinence. No, incontinence. Yeah.
And so people think that incontinence is like this thing where you're wet to the knees all the time, and it's not. So most of us are incontinent, don't know that we're incontinent. And if you have to cross your legs when you're sneezing, you're at like stage 1. You're incontinent. You fall under the incontinent gambit.
If you can't jump on a trampoline or skip,
you're incontinent.
Right.
Yeah. So if you get like leaking when you run, you're incontinent.
Yeah.
But the good news is there's lots of options now.
Yeah, there is lots of options.
There is lots of options.
Well,
you've had Jerry on, didn't you? You've had Jerry on as a guest. Yeah, Jerry Agnew.
But also, and I have a physio, a women's health physio on in a couple weeks' time too. Hers will be released. Because women's health physios are really good.
So this is the other thing that annoys us, right? So
I get very excited about this.
Yeah, I do get excited. We're the only country in Europe that does not have pelvic floor physios and women's health physios as part of your standard maternity care. The only country.
But that involves talking about your vagina and sex, doesn't it?
To
so
somebody.
God forbid.
No, but it's not even that. Like you've had 3 babies.
Yeah.
When you had your babies, you go back in 6 weeks later for your post checkup, your 6-week checkup. How are you? Any postnatal depression? No. How are the babies? Grand. Off you go. Bye.
Yeah.
So nobody checks if you've got double like anal and vaginal prolapse. You could have horrific problems going on. Nobody checks you.
Yeah, or me.
Nobody.
I was out 5 flaps and I didn't realise until
5 flaps.
Yeah, after my
As
first.
in like labia.
Yeah, they'd like split them up. I know. And she calls me 5F.
5F for
Sorry,
years.
I'm just laughing because I've never heard of any. So like.
They actually split in.
Not the outer ones, the inner ones all chopped into pieces.
How come?
Because of my childbirth.
And then it was cut.
I ripped myself
torn.
like,
My
yeah, I didn't even notice.
Was it sore?
To be honest, I don't on reflection. I don't think I noticed for ages because I wasn't fiddling around down there for ages. And then by the time I did realize that something was completely amiss, it was like shredded fucking labia.
Didn't care.
I actually didn't fucking care. Actually, I think I was so tired I didn't care. But B, my gynae had disappeared. She'd been struck off, and as had the other guy, he'd been struck off because it was in a hospital that was closed down. So yeah, I know. So I didn't really have any recourse, and I was like, "Oh, sure, I'll just put up with my 5 flaps."
So what?
That's their fault.
You still have 5 flaps?
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I want to.
She still has 5 flaps.
Do you?
They've got to merge.
Oh my
Got
god.
to merge back into each other. They've kind of grown back a little bit.
So you've scar tissue
Can I
flaps
see it
now.
after?
No, you can't see my
Why
flaps.
don't you just go to Sue Murphy and get her to fix it?
I know, it's just not on my list, my to-do list of shit I need fixed. Like, I'm not really that bothered by it.
So it doesn't affect you sexually
No.
or...
No.
Okay.
Although when I got divorced and I was suddenly
Single.
having to see new people to see my vagina, I was quite conscientious about the whole thing. I was like, fuck, is anyone...
They
You weren't
didn't
that
even
con-
notice.
She wasn't
No
that
one-
conscientious now, let me tell you.
They didn't notice, did they?
If they did, they don't say.
They did, they were
They
polite
don't
enough
care.
back
They're
then,
just like, they just want somewhere to put their dicks and then they're delighted.
They don't care if you 5 flaps.
No, they don't care.
Can I just quantify? It's not the outer flaps, it's the inner ones.
So you said that 3 times, just in case anyone... But you know, I'm going to edit out when you said it. Quantify it. So everyone thinks you have... You have 5 outer labia.
No, fucking the inner ones. Anyway, the point is,
Like
I
a million.
didn't,
wanna see
I
it.
didn't
Are you sure you
notice.
won't show me?
No one noticed, let alone me. Like, I didn't even notice. You know what I mean? And as I said, by the time I came back, like, no one checked me inside.
Yeah.
You know, my pelvic floor is disaster. I peeing myself left, right, and centre until I got in the chair. Do you know, like, I had huge problems. You know, and also, sorry, speaking of vaginas, right? Again, like, this is another funny topic. Like, I didn't realize how my big vagina had gotten, right? Okay, until I went on the chair, right? Okay, so I had the chair. Sorry, I need to say is the Amsella chair, which stimulates your pelvic floor, literally gets your vaginal juices going again, and it also helps tighten up that muscle, right? And again,
I do anything for flaps, for extra
no,
flaps.
I still have the 5. Don't worry. But it definitely helped. Jesus, I didn't. I was only then. So I was on the chair, had a few goes in it, then I went and had sex, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't realize my vagina had gotten that big. Do you know, like.
And actually, yes. So
Because it
and that's
happens
true.
over
It does.
a long period of time that you don't realise.
Yeah, it was only when I got small again, I went, Jesus, it must have been huge.
You're just
You know?
showing off.
No
now.
wonder
You're
I got
basically-
divorced.
But do you know what? Isn't that the problem? Say in Ireland, we don't have that care, whereas in France, women are entitled to 6 months of free
Yes.
physiotherapy
Yeah.
post birth because they take
And they have
that area
lasers.
of
They,
the body really carefully.
And by the way,
of course they do.
So
because
my partner is French, and he was saying to me about something like we were talking about gynecologists, and I don't know how I got onto the subject. And he was like, "Oh, in France, gynecologists, everything is free over there, right? Literally, it's ridiculous." But he was like, "When you have your period in France, you get sent to the gynecologist. So from your
12.
your relationship with your gynecologist starts from your period." I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't see it. I hadn't seen it. The first time I saw a gynecologist was when I was having a baby. I'd
Yeah.
never seen one prior to that.
That's true. They
You know?
see
Yeah.
a gynecologist when you're 12, and then they also see you again, I think, at 18, and then just for this checkup to tell you
Yeah.
what to expect, minding
going
your
on?
vagina, what's going on.
You're not just your vagina, your ovaries, your tubes, the
everything.
whole area.
Everything
Yeah.
is so important, and it's so it's so intricate in there, and even like on
and
the
also the
talks that I
relationship
do-
evolves even like beyond. So like I know we're talking about childbirth or whatever, but it's beyond stuff like that. So it's stress incontinence for athletes. It's menopause. I know we have menomania and everyone's over talking about menopause, but I mean like
Well, no, I don't think. I don't think.
Laura's
people
like,
are
I've just
over-
launched a menopause supplement. We're not freaking over talking about
Don't you
it.
dare ridicule menopause. What I mean is, there's an awful lot of talk, and people are like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god!" But actually, what I find is people are still dying
Interested.
for information
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it because they're not going. Because whatever we're talking about, the overarching menopause, we may not necessarily be talking about the really
Yeah,
important
the nitty gritty
bits
stuff.
that,
Yeah.
that
I know,
that's so
yeah.
important to women.
But again, bringing this back to aesthetics nicely, that's kind of like the same thing with aesthetics. There is
Yeah.
an overarching thing that people want information,
Yeah.
and then they need to kind of bring it down to be much
Yeah.
more granular about it, how it's relevant to you and what you should do.
Yeah.
You know, and
Which
what
is
I say
kind of
that-
like what we try to do at like our events. So like, we try to put these panels on our stage or whatever, and like the idea is that you have the full gambit on the stage. So whether you're weight loss is a really good example. So the weight loss talk, for example, we should have a nutritionist, somebody talking about all the gadgets and the gizmos and the machines, somebody who's talking about lipo, and then somebody who's talking about bariatrics. I love that chat about Saxenda. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Oh my God! Listen, we're going to open up a bag of worms here if we go into that.
No, but I think it's amazing though. But like obesity is a major problem. Weight loss is, anybody who's got a BMI of over 27, me. I mean, there's a whole host of other issues that come along with carrying too much weight.
It is difficult for people to lose weight. Yeah. There is serious health condition. There's serious health concerns for people that are overweight, and I think this idea of you're lazy because you have to take an injection to lose it is just.
Yeah, it's outrageous. Although Liz and I have very different opinions about this, and it's very polarizing, I think, in our family. We grew up in the same family.
Yeah.
We ate the same food, and we have entirely different bodies and entirely different relationships with weight and food. And it's very interesting. So, like, I listened to your podcast actually with Mick Crotty, big fan of Mick Crotty, and My Best Weight, and I've read about this tirelessly. I mean, I've read about gastric balloons that you can ingest, and gastric bands that you can get, like everything. I've read about it all, and I mean, like it's such an overwhelming, emotional issue for most people.
Yeah.
And people who don't struggle with their weight, like Liz, just they don't get it. They don't get it. Like, I don't know, Mick will tell you, I think he might have said this on your podcast as well, that like most of us have a set point, like a weight set point.
Yeah.
And we will come back to that no matter what, and you're into kind of metabolic disease when your weight set point isn't a healthy weight set point, or it's escalating and climbing or whatever. But I mean, like, trying to get some information about stuff that works on that is a minefield. Like, I have tried it all. I'm like ordering raspberry ketones off Amazon at 4:00 in the morning. Is that going to make me skinny? Is that going to work? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like where you get the weigh-ins from the real experts, and and hearing those like proper scientific information about what actually works.
It's so important, isn't it?
So
How about stop eating cream eggs? That works too.
I know, but she's such a bitch.
You are. You're going to be cancelled, Liz.
Yeah.
No, listen, I work side by side with her.
I know that.
Food she puts in her mouth is unbelievable.
I know, but actually, if you understand the
fucking eating,
I know, but here's the whole thing, right? Like,
not all your food, but like stop throwing. You don't eat 25 cream eggs a day between 3 meals. Like, do you know what I mean? No freaking raspberry ketones are going to offset that.
Well, she's breastfeeding, so it's okay.
No, but the idea is, like, if you understand the science behind it, right? My
people are going to think I'm really mean now. Sorry,
but there's something wrong with my satiety set point, right?
Know, yeah. There is, yeah. So, sorry, your viewpoint, right, is the viewpoint of so many people.
I know.
But I think it's important that you're. But I think it's important.
It is wrong. It's just a different viewpoint.
But you're vocalising it. But your viewpoint is the same as an awful lot of people and an awful lot of healthcare professionals, which is why people are embarrassed to seek help too. And look,
no, I get it.
I think that we can all.
I get it. I'm like, if you are eating like a normal, like if you're having 3 normal meals a day plus your little snacks or whatever, and you're still putting on weight or you're having weight problems, then that's fine. But if you are eating like a normal calorie count and then eating an extra 5,000 calories a day, I'm wondering why you have a weight problem. You're saying it's not to do with willpower. You're saying it's to do with satiety, and that you don't have the hormone
there's
neurotransmitter.
Have you listened to that podcast?
I have. I listened on Cara LaRue, and although I know they're saying like you don't have the neurotransmitter to say I'm full, right? Yeah. So you keep going and you keep eating. But if you were to eat like bran flakes like that, you'd feel pretty full, and you'd be like, I don't want to eat that. Do you know
but the point is, you wouldn't.
You just keep eating bran flakes all day long.
Yeah, I could eat all day, every day. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about food. I think about what I'm going to eat for breakfast and what am I going to eat for lunch. What am I going to eat for, like, I love food. It is my favourite thing in the world. My favourite pastime is to shove shit in my mouth. No puns now, no, you little brats. But I mean, like,
we had a very bold conversation before we actually went on air. But I'd love to put some of the outtakes in because actually Liz was saying about. Liz had a nickname when she was 15. What was your nickname?
I'm not going there. Listen, we've already talked about the flaps. That's enough.
We can start.
So anyway, sorry. So we've discussed. So the Emsella chair, like we were saying, so it helps.
Game changer.
But like that, it may not help other people. If people are like wetting themselves constantly and need pads all the time, It may not help them.
Pads is not a solution. I'm sorry, this pisses me off so much, right?
Excuse the pun.
Yeah, literally. Like if you had a broken leg and I said to you, here you go, there's a crutch, off you go. That's what a pad is. It's not a solution. It's just a crutch.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. It's so offensive to women that like, it's just offensive. Do you know
Well, I mean,
what I'm
people
saying?
mightn't want to like go to a doctor for whatever reason,
No, but
or
I mean, like,
you know,
why would you suffer with this problem that like,
But isn't that the thing? Women have just been told to put up and shut up for years
like,
because we're not allowed to talk about our vaginas, which is why we're here today.
Yeah, we
And,
love to talk about vaginas.
This is why, like,
and our
we need to have
urethras.
these- we need to have these conversations.
but like
to
that's
make
the
it
whole
okay.
premise of our business, right?
Yeah.
Like, the premise of our business is like, let's have the conversations. Let's find out what's there, what works, what doesn't work, what's a gimmick, what's gonna like, it work marginally or like, momentarily. But like giving a woman a pad for incontinence just pisses me off. So there's no fucking way in this world, if this was a male problem, that this would be an industry thing.
Oh, I know.
There will
Of
be a pill
course.
for it.
Yeah, no. Well, without a doubt, I think that we realise that now too. That any
yes.
issue, but like even look at women's libido.
Mm.
Why hasn't there been something invented?
I know.
If I could invent
A
if
Viagra.
I could invent a Viagra for
Yeah.
females, I would.
Women can't take a Viagra, by the way.
Yeah, but it
Well,
doesn't
they
have
can,
the
but it
same
doesn't have the
effect.
same effect.
No. But it does not bring blood to your genital regions and like
No,
create
it
like
doesn't work
not to the
that
same
way,
extent
no.
as a-
It doesn't. Actually, do you know what's very good for women as we age?
Chris Hemsworth. That's Viagra. Just look at Chris Hemsworth.
Is vaginal estrogen and vaginal pessaries, and that's great for that can help with libido because it can our clitoris is that the plural?
I don't know.
Can actually shrink
As
Do
we get
they?
older.
as we get older. Yeah, because
Wow.
our vagina does too, and all the kind of the mucosa around that, so they do shrink, which can affect arousal. So vaginal estrogen creams and pessaries can really help with that. So it's just
Yeah.
like my little spiel on that.
No, but like again, like that's all kind of part of what we're all trying to do, right? Is trying to like educate people that these things exist. Like
And not just for vaginas, for everything. Like whether it's your like hair loss is another huge topic we have.
Yeah, can we
Like I
talk
mean,
about that?
during lockdown we did a lot of like online seminars for the Irish Times, readers' nights and stuff like that with our panelists and so forth. And like Jesus, they were overwhelmed with people subscribing
And
for the
is
hair
it
loss.
for women.
for men or women?
No, women.
women.
Like men, look, like they have their
male pattern baldness and female pattern baldness
totally
are
different
very
things.
different.
Yeah. And like women, it's very much like it's stress, it's hormones, it's because we're coming on and off pills, it's because we're had cancer treatments. It's like there's so much going on for women and hair loss, and it's I don't want to take away from the male hair loss situation, but I do think it's a different debilitation for women because hair is so integral to women's identity. Like billion-zillion dollar industry, hair, anything to do with hair and hairdressers, and Jesus, look at us all going bananas during lockdown because we couldn't get to our hairdressers.
Yeah.
Whereas the fellas were just,
Did you sneak out yours though?
we dyed each other's hair. Oh my God, it was a freaking disaster. Actually, you did mine quite well.
Did it
to be
very
fair,
well.
You did mine really well, and I
was
followed the
fastidious.
exact
No,
straight.
she-
I followed the exact same thing that you did.
No, she didn't.
I turned her
No, she
hair
didn't. No, she didn't. This is actually literally the epitome of how we operate.
relationship.
Right. So I was fastidious
Yeah.
and lawyer-like about things, and I was, we literally got like a whole highlighting kit online, and like I was there with the comb, like doing the weaves and the very thin weaves and whatever
Yeah.
else. You run over
That's
there.
not
in.
true. I actually took my time.
zebra stripes that were orange in my hair. Orange zebra stripes. It was like
Is there anything nice about Liz?
Thank you, Laura.
Hi.
Of course,
I want to talk about hair loss because people are very
Hair
interested
loss.
in hair
Okay,
loss.
so
What
it
can
was
people
one.
do for their hair?
So again,
Does PRP work for their hair?
Yes, it can
yeah,
be,
actually, it's one of the. Sorry, you would ask me what I think PRP was good, and I was like, for my face, I didn't get any results, but I have seen incredible results for PRP for hair loss. But again, it's very expensive. Like, and you want to be doing it a lot,
So then now it's now part of hair transplant aftercare.
in a good clinic.
Yeah, in a good clinic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they'll do 2 or 3 sessions of PRP over the course of a year after you've had a hair transplant, and also it's very much kind of a go-to for women for hair loss, especially when women are dealing with hormone-related hair loss. There's very little you can do for the hormone-related hair loss.
Yeah.
You're not really a suitable
What
candidate for...
Heidi was saying about she has a laser for alopecia now.
Yeah. Cosmetech, yeah.
That they've lasers for alopecia.
You're actually going to go and learn all about next week.
You have, there's loads of medications you can take.
The problem with the hair loss is once the follicle is dead, it's dead.
It's gone forever, yeah. So
it's
actually,
like getting in there early, isn't it? And not letting it.
And the problem is people like don't tend to they tend to ignore it, so their head in the sand going, oh, it'll go away, but actually by the time they go to try and treat it, it's too late. Like they've lost too much.
But I think if you have bald patches with alopecia, it can come back. Do you know what I mean? If alopecia is different,
that's different.
Yeah, it's different to like female pattern baldness. And I have it. Look, I am completely losing my hair up here. I'm going back. I was massive receding hairline. It's getting worse and worse the last year.
Extensions there. I see a little.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So that's getting really bad up here now that I need to sort out.
Okay.
So what on the freaking list now.
Beauty? What's there for hair loss?
Well, I'm definitely going in to try that laser for sure. I should
lasers. There's hair restoration clinics. There's PRP.
Okay.
There's
also you have experts there you can go and have a chat to. Like the most important things
as well. Dermatologists are a wealth of knowledge for hair loss.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like the obvious place to go to, but I mean, like sometimes your hair loss can be caused by things like atopic conditions like psoriasis and eczema and these kind of things. So like, I mean, you know, and they're in a great position to prescribe you, like there's prescription drugs as well. What is
the drug for hair loss that men can't take because it affects their orgasms, but women can? Can you remember it? No. It's finasteride.
No, well, finasteride they do take it for men. Do take it for their
hair loss
for male pattern baldness. Yeah,
but if you take it topically, if you take it orally.
Yeah.
Right. It alters the libido. Is it finasteride? Yeah, it is finasteride. Remember Katrina Ryan talking about it? Yeah.
But loads of men do take it though. So
but apparently it can
affect their orgasms.
Yeah. And you can basically, I don't know.
Well, it's taken for prostate issues to shrink. So, and that in and of itself can affect.
There you go. Yeah.
Libido.
But for women, I think like Katrina Ryan was saying, she prescribes finasteride to a lot of her patients who come in with this problem. And she was like, and it doesn't have the same
effect on women.
Sexual effect on women, but obviously it helps with their hair loss. She was like, a lot of people don't think that that's an option, but she was like, it is an option, you know. Yeah. And obviously then you're supposed to be using your minoxidil and all that kind of stuff as well. But as a female putting minoxidil in your hair, whether you use the foam or the serum, and it's greasy and it's very difficult, you know. And then you're supposed to be putting it at night, and then you're like, hold on, I've just washed my hair, and then I'm putting oily stuff back into it. You have the microneedling again with solutions, which is kind of another version of the PRP, but it's just to get stimulation going in the hair, stimulating the scalp. End of story. Like is all.
But there's lasers as well now, so we're actually going to meet somebody next week to talk about them and find out about whether they work. See whether they work.
I'm going to guinea pig my ball spots for this.
I'll be interested to know how that goes. Yeah. You have bone health as well.
So bone health, this is another thing, right? Like, so we have orthopedic surgeons and stuff like that, and they're, you know, like you can do all the Botox in the world, you know, and all the treatments in the world, but if your bones are falling to pieces underneath, it doesn't matter what's happening to your skin.
But isn't that what happens when you age? Our bones are. And I actually remember the last show that you did. It's actually quite frightening. There was a video of how the skull ages, and like literally your bones sink and drop.
Yeah. And also everything gets bigger. Like your orbital sockets start out like that when you're a little person, you know. Yeah. But then they start getting bigger and bigger. Hence
because you're losing bone.
People are like, my eyes are sinking in the back of my head. They actually are sinking into the back of your head because that bone, that orbital bone is getting bigger, but also the muscles around. Sorry, I'm freaking out now. Touching my eyes again.
No, that's okay.
The muscles around the eyes are obviously starting to get much weaker and thinner and so forth. So it's a combination of both. Likewise, the muscles here in your face. And then you have, of course, we have the opposite. These muscles down here get stronger and thicker. The neck muscles. And they start pulling the face down. And you know, you see elderly people.
I've got one really strong one.
Really thick neck bands then because
the other one's not.
So these ones get really strong. Thanks very much. The rest falls to pot. So, you know, again, so the orthopedic people, and you know, aging from the inside out, effectively.
How we age.
How we're aging from the inside out, and what, if anything, can we do to stop it? You know,
what can you do to stop that?
Well, I mean, that's what you're going to find out at Future Beauty Show.
Are you going to give any tickets away?
Of course we are. Of course we're going to give tickets away. But no, to be fair, things. I mean, there's the obvious stuff, but weights is a big one. You know that everyone's been talking about that, like weight bearing on your muscles will help.
Do face weights.
This is where the M face comes in because that's effectively face weights. And people have been doing face yoga for millennial, you know, and all these gusha stones and rose quartz and your rollerballs and everything. Again, it's all getting that muscle, keeping it going, keeping it alive. Like people think it's woo woo, but you know, there actually is
science behind it,
you know?
Yeah.
I don't do any of it, but there's science behind it.
You just like to stick things in yourself.
I might just stick things in and hope for the best, I know,
Literally.
terrible.
Dirty devil, you. Is there anything else that you want people to know about before we wrap it up? Before I ask you the
$1 million questions. Is there anything else? So, I mean,
I think the big take home.
When I do a quick fire off, like, what clinics are crap and what
shot.
what machines are crap? No, so basically, people go to the Future Beauty and they find out about everything they need to find out about.
But also, there's
do you have anything up on the website as well?
Yeah, of course, we have everything on the website.
Okay, and then you have discounts.
Yeah, if you want discounts, that's what we gave. Do we have loads of free tickets?
We're going to give freebies to Laura's lovely listeners.
Yeah, your listeners.
Okay, great. And I'll put the
not everybody. No, I have like 50 of them or something like that.
Yeah.
She's hard. She's a tough cookie, isn't she? She really is the most unlikable person.
I know.
I'm trying to get ticket sales here, honey.
No, of course. We'll give away 50. But sorry, I cut across you. It's funny having a three-way.
Yeah.
It is. Have you ever had a three-way? Nikki didn't say anything. She's just smiling.
Just smiling her little.
Sorry, I cut across you. What did you want to say?
I think the take home about this whole kind of industry is that like women shouldn't be. It's not just women as well. It's everybody. But like, I mean, we kind of focus on women because it's like, you know, what we know.
Yeah.
Is that like there is something out there for you, no matter what your ailment and no matter what your attitude to risk. So whether you want something that's like holistic or you want the scalpel, and there's something out there for you. And none of us should be embarrassed to look for information. We shouldn't be embarrassed to want to treat these things. We shouldn't feel that we should have to suffer with these things, and we definitely shouldn't feel that it's just part of our life that we have these, you know, sometimes quite debilitating physiological issues, you know, like varicose veins or whatever. You don't have to suffer with them, and you shouldn't be made feel like it's terrible that these things even fall under the realm of aesthetics, you know, because they're not really, but it does, and you shouldn't feel there is anything wrong with trying to fix or you know, just you make your life a little bit easier.
Well, actually, it was interesting because you said to me, you know, anyone that has, you know, varicose veins or has had braces or has had their teeth whitened, that all falls under this umbrella. So it isn't
hair
just
laser,
like what you say,
not
boobs and Botox.
No,
you know?
like boobs and Botox is like literally 10% of it, 20% of it. But I mean, every single person, like, so there'll be people who come onto your podcast and they'll be like, oh no, like aesthetics isn't for me. And you'd be like, really? Yeah. How like, do you spend money on fancy creams? Do you
spending money is the other thing. This is the whole. So you were saying that one of the biggest take homes for me, money is the thing that people always say. They're like, I would love if I had all the money in the world, I would do X, Y, and Z. And you're like, A, if you had all the money in the world, you shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z. You should be reining it in and being very conscientious about what you're doing. But B, if you have a certain budget, which like 99% of women are going to be adhering to every year, what you want to make sure that what you invested in is going to deliver. Do you know what I mean? Like you're like, I don't want to get this laser treatment if it's not going to deliver, you know? And like they're expensive. These aren't cheap treatments, you know? Like, I mean, some of the stuff we're talking about, like for incontinence or something like you can get it covered under the HSC, but like most of the stuff you're going to have to pay for it yourself. And you want to make sure that money is invested wisely. And that comes down to education and with the right person.
But also your time thing as well. Like, you know, you see these people like, we had somebody contact us a few weeks back and he had spent 2,500, 300,000 or 3,000 euros on therapy for his face. Remember? And it's like it's a device that tightens your skin, and people use it for lower necks and gels or whatever. And again, it's like a great treatment for the right patient. But like this guy should never.
And why shouldn't he have had it done?
Because he's not a good candidate for it. He's like 4 stone overweight.
Okay.
Like you can have all the old therapy in the world. It's not going to get rid of your big, like your double chin. It's just not going to work for you.
Yeah. But if you go into a clinic saying, "Here, can I have the old therapy?" Like a lot of them are going to go. They spent a lot of money on that machine, you know, and it's a good return from a patient. Like you have to remember that aesthetics is a business, right?
Yeah.
As well, like it's different to medicine in that sense that like if you go to a GP, they're not but they shouldn't be making money off your ailments, right? But if you're going into an aesthetics clinic, they probably are going to, there's going to be some kind of level of a bottom line that they're thinking of. And obviously certain treatments deliver way more on the bottom line than others. So that treatment might be pushed. You go into a clinic and they're not necessarily going to give you what's right for you. It's like, they're like, I have
grand a machine, they need to make their money back.
I have that skincare line here and it might kind of work for her. So we'll go put her down that direction. But it's a gamble. And you're like, that's a very expensive gamble.
And it's a time thing as well. Because like, so, you know, your man was saying, he was like, yeah, I've had it done twice now over the course of 3 years. And like, it takes up to 8 months or 9 months or whatever for your people to see the results. And so he's like waiting 3 years for this, you know,
miraculous
thing to kick in and get rid of his like double chin. And I'm like, there's nothing going to get rid of your double chin other than a scalpel and some liposuction. Like, that it's just not gonna happen. It's like me doing the abs. So I was laughing. It's so funny. There's a picture of me doing the M sculpt. You know, it was just the normal M sculpt when it first came out, which is a device that, you know, crunches your abs, which is amazing anyway for core strength. But I mean, for the aesthetic like look that people are trying to achieve, which is, you know, I'm going to spend $2,000 on these, you know, ab crunches and I'm going to have a 6-pack. You are not going to have a 6-pack. You might have a 6-pack. But if it's covered in a wine belly, it doesn't really matter. Do you know what I mean? Like, and if you're eating 20 cream eggs and you've got a layer of fat over it, it's great. You're going to have abs underneath. But you're not going to see them.
Yeah.
And don't spend €3,000 on a machine and expect to have abs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, like, it's about patient selection.
And expectations, like, and not just patient selection, your personal expectations as to what you expect. Like I would say, at this stage, I should be a size 0 fetus if all those treatments that I had done worked, because everything that I would have done would made me look so young, right, that I wouldn't have even been born, and
you wouldn't have 5 flaps,
and I wouldn't have 5 flaps, and also I'd be like literally size 0. You know, Case in point, I'm neither of those things.
No,
you know,
but we all look good though for our age. You know,
people need to understand the tweakments and everything. They tweak, they don't transform, right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. And like, but you can tweak and keep improving something, which is great, right? But people think that like, oh, if I do this, like me, even myself included, and I'm a devil for this, like, oh no, I'm going to be doing that thing, so I no longer need to go to the gym, or I no longer need to go and do my exercise. It all works in hand. Or I'm like, oh, I'm getting the fat sucked out of me, so I don't need to diet anymore. I can eat as much as I want. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, and or you're like, oh, I'm getting my laser done this next week, so I can scold myself in the sun. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, to take off my sunspots. And I'm literally the most guilty person of that, you know, not just the whole general attitude. And I've definitely learned the hard way. But like, I put a lot of weight in these treatments expecting, you know, like that I'm going to wake up looking like Giselle. And then I get disappointed that I don't, you know. So, you have to be realistic. But again, they are old. Now, there is this big sea change in the industry. People are like, no one wants to look younger anymore, right? This is a big thing like that.
They want to look fresher.
This is just our balance.
Looking like the best. I think this is where people get it wrong. This is like the real line of where people, like aesthetics goes wrong, is people want to change something rather than improve what you have or be the best version of yourself.
Tweak it.
For your age.
Tweak versus change.
In your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's when like the ridiculous lips and stuff and like huge alterations happen, and like, I mean, just don't suit you. Like, you know, everyone's beautiful in their own right, you know, and so if you can just like feel like your best version of yourself, whatever that feels like for you, because that might be totally natural and doing nothing. That might be your best version of you, which is cool. And like that's, we totally, you know, we're all about empowering people to be like, that's amazing. But if there's something that you feel that you want to improve on, that's great, but it's not about altering. Like, it's about...
Well, surgery is. You're going to do plastic surgery, that's altering.
Yeah, but like, maybe it's improving something. So like eye surgery, for example, like that's like, you know, you didn't always have eyelids that hung over your eyes and you can't see, you know, or, you know, you didn't always have a double chin or, you know, like this. So it's about being the best version of you. It's not about altering you and like looking like a totally different person. Because that's when things start to look weird. Like, you know, like
always better to look old than weird. That's for sure. Like Simon Cowell, there was a meme going around with a picture of him looking really strange, and that was the tagline. I was like, it just sticks in my head. Better to look old than looking weird, because he's just looking extremely strange.
This show will put people on the right direction. And it's what, 25th
but
and 26th
also-
of March?
Yeah.
But also, as well, like you're just going to start, it opens up the conversation. And then people start going, have you had this done? Or have you had that treatment? Or have you heard about this doctor? Or she's a disaster. Don't go near
Yeah.
her. And that is really important. Like that opening that whole thing up is really important. And also getting access to these people who are sitting
Hard
in
to
their
get
ivory
access to.
towers normally, you know, and there's waiting lists, there's, you know, massive, like, it's 280 quid just to say hello to a lot of these people, you know. So to take them away from that, like, position, not saying that they're not amazing and they're not, like, you know, living saints and geniuses, but to bring them down to the level where you feel like you can go, listen, what can I do about my 5 flaps? Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, as simple as that, you know, like,
and that's what happens.
well, no, they're not giving consultations, right? They're not, but there's conversations going on
They're
like this
they're
up on the
available
main
and
stage,
accessible.
and people are accessible, and then you're kind of going, you know what, I really liked her, or, you know, he's creepy, I'm not going near him, you know, whatever vibe, and then, like, you call it doctor shopping, which I think is kind of wrong.
Yeah,
but
it is doctor shopping. But like a lot of this is about like your relationship with somebody and whether you like them as well, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like, you
and
know,
if you feel comfortable.
yeah, like I remember going to see a doctor whose name I won't say, but I went to see him in the and I was like, there is not a chance in hell I would let that man near my face. Like, I just wouldn't let him near, and it was whatever. And
There's very few men.
I was about to say now.
edit that out. I'll be shot. I'll never work in this
But
industry
some people
again.
just give you the heebie-jeebies, and you have to roll with that. And like, if you spend 18 months on a waiting list, right, to get to see them, spend you €280, and then go and sit in their consultation room and say, and you're kind of like, oh, like, even after all that time, and you're like, I still really want to do the treatment, but I don't like you, you know, and I really don't feel comfortable with you chopping off my left boob or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
There's that too, you know, and because in Ireland, like, there's so few dermatologists, surgeons, experts, specialists, you know, they're you know, they're very hard to come by. Whereas, like, in other countries, like, as that they're like, everyone has a dermatologist, everyone has a gynecologist. It's just normal. Like, unfortunately, we don't have that culture here. You know, I can't imagine it ever happening in our lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, no
Come on,
problem.
is that all right?
No problem. Off you go. So Nikki's just back from relieving herself.
Sorry about that.
Stress and
Toilet.
confidence.
Yeah.
Did you have a little bit of urgency there?
Urgent continence? No. Actually, do you know what? I've had the opposite problem this pregnancy. The first pregnancy, I definitely had, like, I literally, it's the worst. I had the worst incontinence ever throughout the entire pregnancy. And this pregnancy, I had terrible incontinence during the pregnancy, but afterwards, I have the opposite problem now. I'm
Can't release.
too tight. Yeah.
Oh.
So I have to go to female health physio.
Is it because you're dehydrated from breastfeeding?
No, it's just to do with whatever way the muscles are during
Are you
the
too tight
pregnancy or
everywhere?
whatever. I've got a tiny, tight
So Ian's
vagina.
delighted.
Oh, no, on that note, ladies. So just to tell everyone, the Future Beauty Show is on the 25th and 26th of March.
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday. It's in the RDS. We are giving away 50 free tickets after this. I'm going to give you the little code. It'll be in the notes. But apart from that, how much are the tickets?
They start at 29, and then I think there's like €2 or €3. It's €32 for the day, basically.
Okay, great.
Or
I'll be
you buy a
there
weekend
saying hello
ticket.
to everyone.
Yes.
And that's it. But what I want to do before we wrap up, I want to ask both of you my 2 little questions that I ask everyone. So we'll go with Liz first.
Okay.
Liz,
Go on,
what advice would you give to young people today?
Oh, that's simple. Work in a bar or work in a department store, or ideally both, because it just sets you up for life, for the whole rest of your life, dealing with drunk, demanding people, or, you know, that customer interface, and you deal with all sorts of people, or like types of people. Like, I just think that's invaluable. And like, I almost, like, if I was looking at CVs now, I'm like, what did they do when they were teenagers? You know, that to me is like the best life lesson you can have.
Very true, actually, because I worked in as a lounge girl from when I was 16 all the way through.
You made a fortune as well, by the way.
Wear the short skirts.
Oh,
girls.
I know. It was terrible.
I'm all for female empowerment, but if you want loads of money,
bury yourself.
Bury yourself by wearing a short skirt. Nikki, what advice would you give young people today?
The quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life.
Jesus, that's deep.
Yeah, but it's really important. And I mean, it's all relationships. So first and foremost, the relationship that you have with yourself is the number one. I know that sounds really woo-woo and whatever, but it is super important. If you can't sit with yourself and be happy with yourself, then you will never be happy with any other person. It is like the number one relationship. And then your other relationships, like, I mean, your romantic relationships, your business relationships, your friendships, the quality of your life and your level of happiness and support is 100% determined by the people you surround yourself with. Yeah. So choose well.
Lovely. Oh, that was Very nice.
What about your family, though?
I think
you're stuck with them.
stuck with your big sister and her 5 flaps. Well, moving swiftly onwards.
I'm going to be known for that forever.
That is going in the reel that you have 5 flaps. Liz, what, in your opinion, is the meaning of life?
I was thinking about this. I don't think there is one. Is that very realistic
No,
of me?
that's fine.
I just think we're all here, and like it's a short ride. Enjoy it, and whatever gives you pleasure, try and get as much as that as you possibly can. Whatever that is for you, as long
Unless
as you're not
illicit drugs.
Yeah, I was about to say unless it's harming you, other people, or your health. But like whatever it is for you that gives you pleasure, do as much of it as you possibly can. Because like it is up and down. Like and don't feel guilty when times are up. I think that's something I've had to learn. If you're on it, if you're riding a wave, don't be like, oh Jesus, what's going to happen? Next one's going to crash. Shouldn't I be doing that? Just fucking ride it and hope for the best. I'm like, screw it, let's do it. That's my motto.
That is good, actually, because even you were saying today, you felt a bit guilty, a bit of mom guilt or something like that, and I was like, yeah, no, I feel. I was out last night, I had a few drinks, and for some reason, I don't know if it's the alcohol in my body affecting my brain. Fear, but I feel guilty. I feel like I was a bad person, even though
you're not.
Do you know there's actual like science?
Yeah, there's science about your liver.
The chemicals that your liver releases when it's processing alcohol is
same as guilt.
Same as no anxiety, like cortisol, and my brain isn't working today. Same as like it's what gives you fear. It's like cortisol and adrenaline at the same time or something like that. But it basically mimics the fear. So it's an actual scientific thing that when you're hungover, you have these actual physical emotions. It's physiological.
Yeah.
It's not even mental. It's a physiological thing.
So Nikki, on that note, what's the meaning of life?
I'm like totally the opposite today. I think the meaning of life is all about love, and without love, there is really no point. I think it's about and like all the kinds of love as well. Like that's your legacy. Your legacy is how much and how deep you loved. So I think that's the legacy.
You two are very different people.
I know.
Without a doubt. But I think absolutely beautiful. And I've really enjoyed talking to you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.